I interviewed fitness's most controversial influencer, and I did not hold back. You guys know that my mission is to make everyone feel welcome in the gym with Lift Heavy, Be Kind, and frankly, I don't think we align on that. When we get into the conversation, you'll find out more. I asked him all the difficult questions. If you side with me and you want to support this channel, you want to support the mission, wear the Lift Heavy Be Kind merch. Link is in the description and with the YouTube shop, and show them that you are also trying to get everyone welcome and comfortable in the gym. Let's see what Greg has to say. Wish me and wish him luck. Okay guys, thank you very much for coming to the channel. Now 70% of you are not subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it would help me massively. Before we get into it, please just hit that subscribe button. And let's talk to the most controversial man in fitness. Okay guys, I'm here today with a very special guest, the literal most controversial fitness influencer in the world. Would you cop to that?
It seems to be. I think I've gotten to that point now. Every post is more controversial than the last, it seems.
Yeah, now, your most recent one was to do with the prom thing, but let's just go back, and generally speaking, I get a crack because we've had several conversations, and you're a smart guy, and do you admit that you know what you're doing?
Of course I know what I'm doing. Of course I know what I'm doing. I tell everyone I'm playing 4D chess with everyone. They have no clue. Do you not think that I know when I'm saying something that you might not like? I say it anyway because I'm trying to get the engagement, I'm trying to get people talking, and it's working, clearly.
That being said, you're gonna say whatever you wanna say, and things that get views, but I've never seen anything that you say and think like you're totally faking an opinion.
No, everything I say is the truth. Like, I'm giving you my honest opinion. This is what I actually think, and I'm just going to say it in an unfiltered manner. I'm going to actually say what I think, and I'm not trying to look like the right guy. I'm not trying to virtue signal. I'm saying what people generally think.
Yeah, yeah. Now, let's talk about like your YouTube channel, generally speaking. Obviously, it's huge, and you're smashing it. But like, you know, it seems like you're doing fairly well financially, and you're pretty well set. Like, what is your overall goal? Because maybe you're one of the anomalies who this doesn't get to you when people talk shit, but like, personally, I have a hard time with it when it happens to me. What is your long-term goal with the channel? What's your purpose with it?
Well, first of all, when you said smash, it just made me laugh because people who know said everybody's a smash. This was a controversial statement. I said all bikini competitors are smashed. They look amazing. They're fucking hot. But oh my God, you said that. You need to be canceled. You can't judge anymore. Anyway, but in general, I see YouTube as kind of like being the WWE. I see there's good guys and bad guys. Hulk Hogan, The Rock, all these guys, they play a good character for a while. They play a bad character. Yeah. If people are booing, boo, Hulk, like, that is his goal. So when I see people hating on me and writing these stupid little comments and challenging me and saying you can't ask this question, I'm thinking, I'm literally getting you to comment and watch my video. I've won the game. Like my goal is for you to watch my videos and then you're gonna watch it and comment and you're literally thinking about me all day. Imagine how good that feels. I'm literally doing exactly what I wanted.
When you were a kid, did you embrace being a heel?
I don't think I had that kind of confidence when I was younger. It wasn't until I was in grade 11. I remember I had a light bulb moment. I said, I'm gonna stop giving a shit about what people think about me. So I would do presentations in front of the class. I'm like, what are they gonna make fun of me? I might forget my line. I'm like, screw it. I'm just not giving it a shit about what anybody thinks about me. And from that moment on, life got easier. I stopped worrying and caring about what other people are really thinking about me.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually struggle a lot with that, and like I try to convince myself often. I've gotten so much better over the past few years. Were you literally just like, I have now decided that's not a thing for me?
It bothers me to a small extent if it's close personal friends. Like I don't care about what people who I've never met from another country who I'll never go to think about me. It's just ridiculous. But there's several books on it. It's like I call it like choose where you give your like I give a about this, give a about that. Maybe there's 10 I can give a day. There might be 2 or 3 I'll give to the comments that are people saying, oh my God, I can't believe you said this. But for the most part, they're people that don't matter in my life. I care about my family, my friends think. I care about what I think. And some stranger that has opinion, yeah, I'll read it and I'll see what do they think and I'll analyze it. And if it's not affecting me, I just let it go.
Sure. Well, let's talk about the most recent thing then. Just explain for anyone who hasn't seen it, the prom dress post that you made, which I was going to say, it cracked me up on so many fronts because you posted it and you said, what do you think?
When you pass puberty and you are becoming a woman, your body will send extra fat cells down here to protect your uterus because your body loves you so much, it's trying to protect your femininity. So be nice to it.
My response to this video was, do you agree? I never said if I agreed with her or disagreed with her. I never said to go and bully her. I never did any of these things. I literally said, do you agree? Yes, I deal with vulnerable children, so I ask for him to take it down, period. And so am I now bullying multiple vulnerable children? I ask you, go and watch my video on Instagram and see, am I lying? Am I making this shit up? Where in the post that says, do you agree, says that I'm bullying multiple vulnerable children? Also, there's a minor in this video that you're posting causing harassment. Show me the harassment. Show me it. I'd love to see it. Show me the money.
I'm like, one, Greg, you know what you're doing. And every subsequent story, I'm like, you can't ask a question? Mate, you're so funny. So explain exactly what that was.
Well, what makes this even better is I never chose the video.
Yeah.
I have a guy who works for me. He's
Yeah.
from China. He translates my videos in Mandarin. And so in China, it's a different culture. There is no wokeism to this extent. I'm like, in China, what would go on? He's like, no one would say anything about that. But in our country, people get upset. So we had, I think, a grade 12 student, and she makes prom dresses for a living, and she has about 500,000 followers, very famous.
Yeah.
And she was telling a young woman, probably, I don't know, it's a prom dress, so I don't know, grade 11, 12, whatever, how you have a lot of fat cells when you go through puberty, and you have to embrace the fat, and this is part about being a woman. And I just said, no, I disagree with this. I don't agree with that. But I'm just going to pose the question. Do you agree with her?
Yeah.
And I was told that I was hate and I was instilling bullying and essentially that I was a pedo for all these things. How could you look at this? I'm like, what are you talking about? And so everyone started bullying me. Barf photos on me, throwing this. Cancel him, mass reporting to Instagram. I'm like, Instagram's going to look at you guys and laugh.
Right.
Because this is not bullying. Not a single person that I'm aware of bullied this woman, but hundreds, if not thousands, bullied me. But you know what's okay? In the fitness world, it's okay to punch up. I have more followers than this person. They only have 500,000. It's okay to punch up.
Yeah.
It's okay to punch up at a man.
Yeah.
If Andrew Tate, if I said something about Andrew Tate, the same video, and I said, what do you think about Andrew Tate? No one's going to get mad. They'd be like, yeah, go get him.
It's true.
But if it's a woman, in particular, a younger woman, you're canceled. You can't have an opinion. I can't even pose the question.
Yeah.
So it might be red pill for some people, but I think we should, I mean, we learn more from debate than we do from hate. If you just hate on me, what's wrong with you? You can't allow me to at least express myself and ask the question. I didn't say go and bully this woman. I never said to anyone go and write her and tease her. And no one did.
Yeah.
But they sure as heck bullied me.
Yeah.
Which is cool for them. They think that's okay.
Of course.
Which doesn't bother me. But
And it's funny you say about the debate part because I got really hooked on that Jubilee bit that you did.
that went viral.
That was crazy. First of all, who was the tan guy who I think he made quite an ass of himself?
That was Myron from Fresh and Fit, who me and Myron think a lot alike, and he gets a lot of hate. But what he does, which is different from me, is I think he's trying to instill hate on purpose.
Yeah.
Like he'll say, you're a fat piece of shit. You can lose weight if you want. I'll say, you're morbidly obese and you can lose weight if you want.
Yeah.
I don't hate you for being obese. I'm just saying I'm trying to empower you. You have the ability to lose weight if you want to.
Yeah.
He's basically like, no, you're a lazy piece of shit. I'm like, no, you're choosing not to exercise. You're choosing this, and you could lose weight if you want. So there's two different ways of expressing it.
So it was really funny during that. Like the one that the bit that really stuck with me is the whole thing was about largely the people who were fatter just wanted to be accepted. And why do you give us such a hard time? Why does it bother you? Why does it affect you? And then one of the guys, you had said something that sort of got to him, and then he starts going on about how short you are. And you're like, but your weight is exponentially easier to control than your height.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's to me almost a worse thing. Now, in that whole experience on Jubilee, did you learn anything speaking to those guys?
I unlearned. I literally went into it thinking that the people who are obese would be more thinking like me. And in going to it, I learned that they think, in fact, more differently than I do. So rather than having a middle ground, I found we were more divided than I thought. I thought people who are obese are trying to get, they're disempowering themselves. I'm trying to empower them. I'm saying, you know, you're choosing to do this. You're choosing not to put the fork down. You're choosing not to exercise. And if you really wanted to, you could lose 100 pounds. I'm not saying you could have a six-pack, and I'm not encouraging you to do so, but you could be more fit than you are.
Yeah.
And you could feel better about yourself. You could lower your depression just by being more physically active and trying. But they're like, no, I had PCOS. I was born this way. My mom fed me too much junk food. There's too many chips available. I don't have enough money to be healthy. And I'm like, you're trying to make excuses. They're professional victims. They want everyone to just coddle them and say all the nice things. No, your genetics, you're this. Of course, genetics makes it harder, but you can still do something.
You know, the interesting thing always, but I can't afford to lose weight, is that, but all it takes is to eat less food.
It's cheaper.
Yeah, like
literally.
You might not be shredded and huge, but like you can still be thinner. It's interesting you point out the mental health, because I want to talk to you about different types of health. And mental health from being more active and fitter is obvious if you were to take an obese person and get them moving. But we're at the Toronto Pro Show right now. There's bodybuilders trying to become professional. You've got a history in bodybuilding, and you speak on that time as you were abusing steroids, and you don't speak on it as though it was the best mental health time in your life. So how do you juxtapose like being in peak physical form and having mental health sort of not directly correlated to how fit you are?
You know, I feel like being morbidly obese and abusing steroids to me is equal in terms of like the negatives, like the effect of your life. And so I'll say I was abusing steroids for 10 years. I don't brag about that. I did that. I think it's going to short my life. And so I feel like I can speak to this with more, I don't know, more authority than the average person. They're like, you're such a, like, how can you say not to use steroids when you did them themselves? I say, well, doesn't that give me more ability to do that? If you're a natural your whole life and you keep bragging this, how can you do that? But when you're dieting and you're trying to fit the standards of professional bodybuilding, you're always being judged on how you look. All the time you don't think you're good enough. So many bodybuilders, and I wouldn't say myself, but you develop body dysmorphia.
Of course.
I was always like, I'm just going to be the best version of myself. I would enter competitions. I would say my goal is to get top 10. They said, what kind of attitude is that? Shouldn't you be trying to win? I'm trying to win, but my reality is I'm not that big. I'm not going to win. I went top 10. So I felt like I had good mental health compared to most people, but certainly the last month I had no energy. I felt like garbage, and you start looking in the mirror and it's very easy to get carried away. So I think I was lucky and I got out of the sport before I think I got into it too deep.
Sure. Body dysmorphia is a funny thing, isn't it? Like, I would have that to a degree, and not really in like it doesn't really bother me all that much, but if you and I took a picture and I looked back on it, I would be like, oh, I am way taller than Greg. I am way larger than, I actually don't even see myself that way. Not in any way. Now, talk to me, because you talk about abusing steroids when you were bodybuilding. Draw the line for me of using versus abusing.
Honestly, the abuse line is anything past doctor prescription. So my prescription is 140 milligrams of test a week, so I do 80 milligrams every 4 days. If I did 200 milligrams a week, I'm abusing it. That's more than the doctor deems is necessary. So any amount above that is not good for my body. It's not good for my health. Now, is it as abusive as doing a gram or two, or what I used to do, which is 10 times more than that? No, but it's certainly bad. I used to do 500 tren, 500 test, 500 masteron, 500 EQ all at once, orals on top of it. I was on the max dose that my body could handle and not feel sick. If I would try more, 700 tren, for example, did it for a week. I'm like, I can't sleep, I can't function. I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack the whole time. I have anxiety. I felt shitty in my own body. I would couldn't wait for the cycle to end. When you're on lower doses of steroids, I felt great, to be honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I felt great on lower doses. Higher doses, I felt like garbage, but I needed those doses to put in any muscle.
Of course, yeah. It feels like in the bodybuilding world, things get so much more out of control than they do in our world, because you have to feel good to perform good. It's like going way over the top is,
Yeah, bodybuilding isn't about how you feel, it's about how you look. And literally, the day of the show or the last week, you're on your deathbed. It's a nightmare. You absolutely feel miserable. I could barely get out of the bathtub. I couldn't hardly shower on my own. I'd sit to shower. I was getting friends to drive me to the gym because I felt like I would get in a car accident. Shoulder checks didn't exist at that point. I had so lack of energy. Once you're at like 5% body fat or less, it's just a complete nightmare. Like the last 3 weeks for me, I can't believe I was able to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I did my one, and I openly admit I was terrible. I came 11th out of 12 at a local natural show, but I was working day camps at the time, and there was a half-hour drive on the bus in and out. I'd sit at the back of the bus, ignore all of the kids, and I'd just be scrolling my phone, Reese's Pieces recipes, and I'd just be fantasizing. Food. Funny though, before I did bodybuilding, I didn't really eat fruits and vegetables. Wasn't interested. After, I'm like, I will eat anything. Anything I'm allowed to eat, I'm full in.
That is one thing I learned how to do from bodybuilding. When I was 13 and I was like, I'm going to do a bodybuilding challenge, so I'm older, my dad's like, there's no way you could do this. All you eat is junk. You don't eat fruits. You don't eat vegetables. I was just French fries and chicken nuggets and chips. I ate the worst diet in the world.
Yeah.
And I would eat like 1 or 2 meals a day. It was a horrible diet.
Yep.
But after bodybuilding, everything tasted good. Like plain tuna became delicious. So that's one thing that because of bodybuilding to this day, my appetite, I can eat anything. Everything tastes good to me now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's awesome. When you restrict yourself, it's actually amazing. You restrict yourself and you go back to having like a piece of fruit. And you're like, that's the sweetest thing I've ever had in my whole life. It's crazy. It takes you back.
Strawberry tastes better than licorice when you're dieting.
Yeah, absolutely. You give really reasonable advice to people. So if you were to advise anyone who, like, say a lot of people in my world would be, you know, probably higher body fat than they would want to be, and they would want to lose a bit of weight and still stay really strong, what would be your most simple top line advice for those type of people?
The first suggestion would be to do cardio because you're going to be able to eat more. It's going to boost your metabolism, plus it's going to make you more fit. And aside from cardio, food-wise, it would be more fruit and vegetables, foods with fiber. That I categorize as low-calorie dense foods because it fills up your stomach, stretches the stomach, sends signals to the brain. You're more satiated. You have less hunger cravings. And so that is the main thing. You eat more salads, fruits, vegetables, do some cardio. And for most people, that's going to lose a lot of weight.
Cool. Now, awesome that you mentioned the calorie density of foods, because you and I have had a bit of a disagreement in the past couple of weeks around calories in, calories out, and if that's the end all be all. Now, I actually caveat, I 100% agree that it is. In a vacuum, that's the truth. But I brought up in one of my videos that you responded to that when you actually put it into practice in the research, that your appetite offsets the amount of calories that you burn, and people, when they exercise, don't lose weight on average. Now, another caveat, these aren't people fit like you. They're people who, like, a big workout might be 150 or 200 calories burned. So I would love to hear your side of this when it comes to the whole picture, the psychology, and the actual individual in front of you. And I want you to think about the person sitting across from you at Jubilee trying to comprehend what you're saying.
Perfect. That's a good way to put it. So I'm picturing an obese person. They're not really fit. They're just getting into it. So let's say you're 300 pounds and you come see me. I'm going to say, look, I'd like you to start doing some walking. And they're not active. Let's say they walk for 30 minutes and let's say they burn 300 calories. Now you mentioned that because you're burning off 300 calories, your appetite is going to go up. Now from my research, this is what I've seen, is that it's going to be offset in the beginner by approximately 50%. So your appetite will increase by, if you're burning off 300 calories, probably 150. So if your eyes are closed, you don't know what you're eating, your body will kind of naturally eat on average probably 150 calories less, which over the course of a year is probably going to be 12 point some pounds of body fat, like roughly. So it's a slow process. And then as you get more and more fit, that 30-minute walk, you're more fit a year later. You're probably burning 600 calories in that 30 minutes because you're more fit. So then your appetite is going to be decreased by half of that, which is 300. So you actually burn more and more fat. Now, once you get leaner to my level, like I burnt probably 1,500 calories in a bike ride, like oftentimes. My appetite goes up by 1,500 because I'm at 7% body fat. My body doesn't want me to be any leaner. So it increases hunger to that point. If you're obese, 40, 50% body fat, your appetite doesn't increase by as much as the calories burned. So that's why I feel like cardio is very much the secret to long-term fat loss, even more so than building muscle, which of course is going to boost your metabolism as well.
In practice, let's say you're in you do what you say, 30-minute walk, you're burning 300 calories, which would be a lot. If it would have to be
I'm picturing a 300-pound person obese and they're walking
300 calories, of course. Now, you're in a 150 calorie deficit over the course of a week. 7 times 150 is what? We'll call it 1,000. 1,050. What's the likelihood that person has a couple of slices of pizza on the weekend because they feel like they've done a good job exercising all week?
Do you know what? I would say it's 50-50, and that's a great point you're bringing up. It could go two ways. People who do cardiovascular exercise or even weightlifting, oftentimes one good thing, it gets the domino rolling for another good thing. So because you're going to the gym, you're thinking, I'm not going to eat that pizza, I'm not going to eat that chip, and you actually eat less. That oftentimes is the case. The opposite can often happen to people. They reward themselves, hey, I burn off 1,000 calories in the stepper, hanging on for D-Life. It was probably only 500, and they eat a 1,500 calorie cheeseburger they thought was 500, and they gain all the weight, and they say there, calories in, calories out doesn't work. So those are two alternate situations and two alternate universes from the same exact situation. No,
it's a really frustrating thing to people like you and me when you take the science and you apply psychology. And you're like, it's all supposed to be there, but it doesn't always work that way. I looked into calorimetry and how they actually measure calories. Do you know the margin of error in calculating calories when they actually
Is it in that room where they're breathing in and measuring the VO2 or the carbon dioxide?
But when they measure the calorie density of food.
Oh, how many calories are in the foods that we're eating? Well, I know that by law, they can be up to 20% off on food labels. And I know that people are way more off than that all the time.
But
and
do you know why? Do you know why it's 20%?
I have no idea.
Because that's actually the margin of error when they... So do you know how they measure calories in the first place?
I would assume they heat it up and see.
Yeah, like they burn it and see how much it heats up. I believe it's the energy that's required to increase the temperature of 1 liter of water by 1
degree Celsius is 1 kilocalorie.
And it's actually 20% off. And if we're thinking about a 2,000 calorie diet, you actually could be at 2,400. You could be at 1,600.
Sure.
It's not that it does not invalidate calories in any way because it's our best way of measuring. But would you admit that it's to some extent a chink in the armor?
I think what I'm hearing is that tracking calories is next to impossible. And I agree with that 100%.
Tracking perfectly,
I think even coaches, for the most part, and I've coached coaches, they have no idea how to track calories.
Right.
I'm like, you realize that when you cook a baked potato, it dries out. And so the grams weighed after is going to be different than before. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm like, you realize that when you cook rice and put water in it, it's not the same. I'm like, you're not eating 4,000 calories a day because the rice has water. You thought you were eating 4 cups of rice. That's cooked versus dry. So calorie counting is horrible. But if you consider that the person's eating the same, let's say they're eating the same meal every day, and they're like, calories in, calories out doesn't work. I'm like, eat less of that same meal.
Of course.
Like if you had 15 French fries, have 10 now. You're gonna lose, like.
The best argument I've ever heard is that whether you count calories or not, the scale is going to tell you your calories.
Yes.
It'll tell you calories in, calories out to some extent.
And calories in, another thing people don't understand is all the foods that we eat, we're not necessarily able to absorb those calories. When you eat nuts or certain foods, sometimes it exits the same way it went in.
Yeah.
And they're like, see, that's proof it doesn't work. I'm like, it's calories in, calories out. It can get out.
That's out. Yeah.
Through going out, pooping that food out. It's literally, I pooped out 400 calories.
Yeah.
Or it can go out by, I could like get sick. I could visit the bathroom and do number 3. I don't want to get cancer, you can't say these words. Or I could do exercise and burn off 400 calories.
Yeah.
Regardless, that's the out. And the calorie out is also affected by your metabolism. If you have an underactive thyroid, maybe you're not burning as many calories. If you take T3 or clenbuterol or a fat burner, these all are going to make you sweat out more calories, burn more calories, fidget more. You're affecting the out portion of the equation, and then the in portion is the calories consumed. So in the end, it's still calories out, calories in, calories out, but very hard to calculate and track.
Of course. Yeah. It's actually funny. I think back to day camps and all of my interactions with children. You will never really see a boy who has, whether it's clinical or not, ADHD, who they're just like bouncing off the wall. You never see that kid fat.
Yeah, because their out portion is high and they're not as hungry.
Yeah,
They're burning off more and eating less.
Absolutely. Now, if someone's looking to vary up their diet, what's the best resource that you would send them to?
My cookbook.
There you go.
Of course.
What a great way to finish.
There's about 200 recipes in there, and there's not a day that goes by in my life where somebody doesn't say they bought the book. I'll meet people, various people, and it's all walks of life.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's no way this person goes to the gym. I love your book. I watch it. It amazes me to meet these people all the time.
Yeah. Well, amazing. Thank you very much, guys. We'll pop the link to the cookbook down in the description. Hopefully we could get a couple in your hands. But thank you very much, Greg. Most controversial man in fitness. Surprisingly easy to get along with.
Do you guys agree? Do you agree?
Do you agree? The most controversial question you
But literally, if I asked that about myself, they'd probably try to cancel me.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Go ahead, leave a comment. What do you think? What do you think about Greg? If you want to tell Greg how much you hate him, go for it. It bothers me. He loves it.
I'll pin the top comment, hopefully, because I love those.
Let's go then. Pin comment is the first person to comment. Love you, Mitch. You, Greg.
There you have it.
Thanks, guys.